Madam Chair. I wanted to start by saying that for the state of Missouri, this is a crisis that has been truly devastating. Missouri's life expectancy in the state as a whole has actually been declining now for years on end because of the surge in drug overdoses, because of the surge in deaths of despair, often linked to opioid addiction and other drug addiction. It is taking an enormous toll, of course, around the country, but Missouri is unfortunately in many ways ground zero for this epidemic. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Ms. Liscombe, let me start with you. As Attorney General of the state of Missouri, I brought suit against major opioid manufacturers. We were the, I think, second or third state to do so. It's very early on. This has been 2.5 years ago, getting close to 3 years ago now. I understand that the Eastern District of New York has now started its own criminal probe of opioid makers and distributors. I'm wondering if you can give us some sense about the scope or the stage of that investigation, anything you might know about where it stands.
Unfortunately, I can't comment on open investigations, but I can point you to public indictments of manufacturer and distributor executives as of late. One was some executives of Miami Lucan, and the other was of Rochester Drug Corporation, where we have made a point of holding the executives who are in charge of these companies who have helped contribute to the crisis responsible.
Yeah, I think that's very important to do. And speaking of executives, is it possible that individual executives at some of these companies, these major distributors, makers, may be investigated and charged? Is that potential?
We will obviously go where the evidence takes us, but that is always a possibility.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I hope that federal prosecutors will look very closely at that, because I do think that if we are going to be charging opioid and heroin dealers and putting them in prison, and we absolutely should, but that accountability's got to go all the way up the supply chain. And I know from our own investigation in the state of Missouri, the outright deception of many of these pharmaceutical companies. They knew that opioids were addictive. They knew what the side effects were. They knew the data did not support prescription in the mass numbers that they were being prescribed, and yet they deliberately misled the public, sometimes in particular doctors and veterans and other at-risk communities deliberately did so over a number of years and made literally billions of dollars in it, and there has got to be accountability in the law for this. Let me come back to the question of drug smuggling. Mr. McDermott, maybe I'll address this to you. In the state of Missouri now, the supply of prescription opioids, the black market supply, I should say, is being ratcheted down, which is generally a positive thing. It's a very positive thing. However, what we're seeing is drug addiction continues to surge in the state, and in the wake of prescription opioids, we're seeing fentanyl, black market fentanyl, as we've been talking about, and then also methamphetamine. Now, those products are not produced in the state of Missouri, and methamphetamine is not widely produced in the state of Missouri. It's produced in Mexico, and it comes across the southern border. And it is no exaggeration to say in Missouri, every single one of our counties, so 114, every single one of them is awash in these illegal drugs. And I mean awash in them. You cannot go into a school in my state and not find these illegal drugs with a snap of the finger. So tell me about what our latest efforts are on the border. How are we doing in interdicting these drugs? What more do you need from Congress? Because this is truly it's a crisis for my state.
Senator, I was the ASAC in Missouri before I went to headquarters, left, came back, and so forth. So I totally agree with you 100%. I can tell you that we're working with CBP. We have some of the highest seizures right now in the United States on methamphetamine. And I can tell you the men and women of the St. Louis division work every day to ensure the safety and well-being of that state. And I can tell you have some great professionals there. And actually, one of the best supervisors I had went right down to your area. So and we are adding additional bodies, as well as when I was the ASAC there, we were able to get additional special agents assigned to the St. Louis division. So I believe that we're doing everything we possible to work with our state and local counterparts, as well as Department of Justice. And you have some excellent, you have an excellent U.S. attorney in your state.
What more do we need to do specifically on the border, however? And Ms. Liscombe, feel free to chime in here. You mentioned this in your statement. I mean, what has to happen to see the flow of these drugs? I mean, it's one thing, we prefer not to have to deal with it in the state, right? I prefer these drugs not to come to the state to begin with, and they are pouring into the state. In Springfield, Missouri, for instance, we've had record numbers of overdoses just in a 2-month period, more overdoses in a 2-month period from what looks to be fentanyl and potentially methamphetamine than we had all of last year. That's just unbelievable. So the drugs are just pouring in. What do we need to do to stop the flow across the border?
And Senator, you're absolutely correct. The drugs that are coming from the Mexican cartels, whether they be methamphetamine, fentanyl, or analogs, are devastating this country. I would just refer you back to the permanent class-wide scheduling of fentanyl analogs. That is our #1 priority right now. We have 51 days left, and we very much need Congress to act on this one point. And so I think that's the #1 request at this point.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.